Hey everybody, it's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R chat for Sunday, March 24th, 2013. What a week to be interrupted by basketball. How rude! This week was freaking explosive, and it was short. It was like I was getting myself all ready and geared up for more Y&R. In fact, I watched Monday through Wednesday's show, and then when it's time for Thursday's show, I'm ready. I'm like sitting there waiting, like, when's my Thursday show? Can't wait to find out what happens. And then I realized that it's basketball week, and it's gonna be a 3-day week. I was crushed, so disappointed. I was ready to snuggle up with Y&R and watch all 5 episodes. I could have watched 10 episodes. It was so good. And Wednesday's show in the US ended with this huge cliffhanger. And I don't know what happens. I have only seen Monday through Wednesday's shows for the US, and I have not gone on and peeked at what's gonna happen. So you guys better not spoil it for me. I wanna be fresh. I am with bated breath waiting for Monday's show so I can find out what the heck is gonna happen. And I might have to just not read comments this week. Or I might have to wait until next week to read what you guys have to say, because I really, really don't want to be spoiled. It's such a good story, and I'm really, really excited to see how it's going to play out. So the huge cliffhanger, let's put that on the back burner for a minute, and let's talk about all of the moments that led up to it this week. And it was, of course, Nikki and Victor's re-wedding. So beautiful, so meaningful. It's wedding day at the ranch. Everything is beautifully decorated. There were gorgeous white candles and silver candlesticks. And the flowers alone were stunning. I'm almost afraid to know what the flower budget was for Nikki and Victor's wedding, because they were everywhere. These gorgeous pink and white roses. I think there was some purple ones just speckled in there as well. There was, the whole foyer was decorated with roses. Like the entryway, it was kind of lining it. There was a huge rose bouquet on the door. It was all over the mantle case. There was roses, and they were gorgeous. I bet it smelled wonderful in there. It just felt fresh and expensive and kind of lavish, but also at the same time, not Victor and Nikki's first trip to the rodeo. There was not the traditional big long flowing dress and throwing of rice or flower petals or anything like that. It was very well decorated. It appeared lavish without being ridiculous. I enjoyed the set. I enjoyed seeing the preparation between, Nikki and Victor. They were kind of separately getting ready for this huge moment in their lives. Hopefully their last wedding. Tell that to Brooke and Ridge on Bold and the Beautiful, who supposedly just had their 7th or 8th wedding, and this was going to be their last, and 2 months later they're already broken up. But not for Nikki and Victor. I know that this is gonna last this time. So Nikki is sitting in her dressing room. She's looking in the mirror, getting ready, and she's remembering their first wedding. And I'm such a sucker for flashbacks. I always love when we have the opportunity to go back in time. And Nikki was thinking about the first time they were married and how much anticipation was there and how much love was there. But also, I'm sure, thinking about the long road that they've traveled to get where they are today. It has not been a paved path. Nikki and Victor's story is one with a lot of ups and downs, and I know that all of this is on her mind on this, her wedding day. Meanwhile, Victor was getting ready. He had his tux on, and he was out, I think, just outside of the ranch, kind of on the porch area with Abby as she was helping him put on his boutonniere. Which, again, though, I think it's surprising that Nick wasn't there. Didn't Victor ask Nick to be his best man. It sort of seemed like Nick should have been the one there with Victor, but it was Abby all week. Even all last week, Abby was the one who was being there for Nikki and Victor. She's really become a very important, I think, family member. She must be making up for lots of, I don't know, mistakes that she made in her past. I'm not sure, but she was really being very supportive of them. Speaking of surprises, Billy had arranged a little surprise of his own. He brings Reed in to see Nikki on her wedding day, and I think mostly it was for Victoria so that she would have a chance to connect with her son and just make a nice day. It was a nice moment. It was a nice day. So, one by one, all of the guests arrive at the party. Eric Forrester was there pretty early. At first I thought, okay, well that's weird that it's a very small private event and Eric is there, but it made a little more sense when they revealed that Eric designed the dress. I'm loving the crossover, by the way, because I recently started watching Bold and the Beautiful, so it was a nice, I mean, they mentioned it on Bold and the Beautiful too, that Eric was going to Genoa City, so it was completely tied in, and it was nice to see him there. I cannot wait to get your guys' take on this. Did anyone else notice that Eric seemed rather taken with Summer? Kind of inappropriately? Here, Summer is this 18-year-old girl, and she's giggling on Eric, you know, saying, oh, she loves Forrester Creations, and she wants to have them design her gowns, and Eric was just looking at her with a little bit of creepiness. Just seemed like he was really starstruck, and even when he walked away from Summer, he was kind of still talking about her. He was like, oh my. It just almost seemed like Eric had a little crush. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was. Like, Eric is so swayed by whatever woman is in his view at the moment. I mean, I'm sorry, Eric, I love you, but his wife, Stephanie, just died a month ago. They've had such a long road, very similar to Nikki and Victor, and he already has someone new moved in. She died a month ago, and now he has moved in Taylor, his son's ex-wife, and he's living with her and acting like they're all in love and being all smoochy. I'm so appalled by Eric and Taylor's relationship on The Bold and the Beautiful, and I'm only bringing it up because I now have a little bit of a platform to talk about it. It was ridiculous. I want him to be happy, and I'm sure that Stephanie would too, but there should be a mourning period that's longer than a month. Whatever. It was good to see him on Y&R. He successfully went and made Lauren and Michael really uncomfortable. As soon as he was done talking to Summer, he moseyed his way on over to Lauren and Michael to talk to them about like what a great couple they are, and they have such a wonderful love story. Meanwhile, Lauren is kind of just squirming around in her shoes, knowing that that's not the case. The whole thing was very difficult for Michael and Lauren, and I felt really, really bad for Michael. Not so much Lauren. But we'll get to all that later. So Alex showed up for Abby, and he was clean shaven. I almost couldn't believe it. He looks like a completely different guy without his wolf beard. Or no, he's not sex wolf, he's sex fox without his fox beard. And they had a little moment together. Abby and Alex shared their first kiss in front of everyone at the wedding, which to me seemed slightly inappropriate. Nick and Noah were watching off in the distance, very, very unhappy about it. I wasn't a heck of a lot more happy. Alex and Abby just don't do it for me, but I loved seeing Nick and Noah gritting their teeth because I can't stand Alex. I'm actually surprised that Adriana didn't show up and crash the wedding the way she crashed the ranch grand opening party. But it was there, like, it was small but meaningful. The family had all arrived, plus a few friends. And as the wedding was about to start, I began to realize, hang on just a damn minute here. Where is Catherine? Can you imagine that she would miss this for the world? Like, at the exact moment that I was realizing, like, something's missing here, Nikki started realizing it too, and she, like, gets concerned and calls Catherine and leaves her a message because something would have to be majorly wrong in order to make Catherine miss Nikki and Victor's wedding. Catherine would never miss Nikki and Victor's wedding. She has spent large chunks of her life trying to bring her two friends together. I mean, Catherine is probably the closest friend to both of them. She's Nikki's best friend, and I think she's probably Victor's best friend too. So it was shocking that she wasn't there. Wholly disappointing. Nikki started to express this concern to Victor, and Victor was like, it's fine. But Nikki knew better, and she called Catherine. Like, that would, I don't know, it would have made me very, very concerned. But Nikki calls Catherine, and we see this brief scene of Catherine sitting in the chair at the Chancellor Mansion, just sort of reading a book, chilling out, as if she's not missing the wedding, the re-wedding of the decade. And she gets Nikki's text message and is starting to realize that she's forgotten the wedding. Catherine forgot the wedding! Can you even believe that? That is totally unacceptable to me, YNR. I wonder if there was like a scheduling conflict or something with Jeanne Cooper, because I can't imagine that they would even make Catherine miss that for this memory or Alzheimer's or whatever storyline it is that they're developing with Catherine. That crap should have been put on hold so that Catherine could have been there dropping down some wisdom bombs on everybody in the room. I can't believe it. I cannot believe that the wedding went on without her, but it did. Well, Nikki looked stately, didn't she? She looked like she was the first lady of the world getting married on this very special day. Like, she looked not overly done up like a first bride. Nikki looked like a woman who has done this before. She walked down the aisle like a woman who has been there before. And I thought she held herself really well. I thought she looked beautiful. It was wonderful to see her and Victor at the altar together, reclaiming their love. Nikki ended up reading this poem to Victor, which was really nice, although, I don't know, did you guys notice that the music was really loud over it? I almost couldn't understand what Nikki was saying. I must have been getting all my hearings going, but I almost couldn't understand what Nikki was saying because the music over the scene was so loud. But she put on her sparkling, perfect purple glasses and she read the poem to Victor, and it was meaningful. But to me, what even seemed more meaningful was when she looked at him and simply stated, "I will love you forever." And say what you want about Nikki and Victor's relationship, that is the truth. That's the core of it. Nikki will love Victor forever. And I know Victor will love Nikki forever. He's a stubborn old horse, but he loves her and only her and always her. And Victor essentially said all of that in his vows, although there's always a moment when I hear Victor saying things where I think, Victor, you've said all of those things before, and you know, when it comes time for action, he doesn't put Nikki first. I feel like Nikki has always kept her vows to Victor, and Victor is, he strays from it. I don't know. I hope that this is it. Like, I want Victor to stay true to his word and to stay true to her, and I want the drama between this couple to be over with. It's time to just let them settle into being the couple, the super couple on YNR and be done with all of these childish games. They belong together. So it was good to see them reaffirming, and I hope that it stays that way. Now, the wedding was really, the whole thing was so nice and calm and genuinely lovely. But you knew that something was gonna happen. It was kind of like, do you guys remember when YNR did the primetime episode? It was in, I mean, the mid-90s maybe. They hyped up the show that they were putting on primetime CBS. And so I tuned in at like 7 p.m. to watch my YNR, and the whole episode was very usual. It was just like, okay, it's nice, you know, nothing real, you know, bang up about it. And then at the very, very end, I mean, the very last minute of the show, someone came in and shot Victor. And this wedding was kind of like that. It was just totally lovely. And I kept waiting for something to come in and ruin it. And I knew, I mean, the second, if you were watching the show and you noticed in the bottom of the screen, there was the hashtag, the Twitter hashtag, killer wedding in the bottom there, like encouraging people to, you know, tweet about YNR and include the hashtag killer wedding. I mean, that's ominous right there. I'm enjoying this beautiful wedding and I'm like, killer wedding? What the heck is gonna happen here? You know it's gonna be something. But I want to just diverge a second to say that I think that was a really smart move on YNR's part to include that hashtag, like to get people talking about the show, and bringing in new audience is really important, especially young audience. And there was a lot of you know, things about the show, the Nikki and Victor wedding, that I could tell that YNR was kind of preaching outside of the choir. I mean, we're already viewers. We all are already hooked. We're already watching the show. But you could tell there was just moments where they were catering a little bit to someone who might be tuning in for the first time. And I think that's really important, and I gotta give them props for that, because in a world where soaps are dropping like flies, YNR needs to stay relevant. They need to get new viewers and make sure that they can continue to tell these wonderful stories. So I mean, I've been impressed with the show as of late, and I think that was a really good, you know, move for marketing. I think it hopefully created a little bit of extra buzz for YNR. So the wedding part is over and the reception begins. Killer wedding in the bottom of the screen, and I'm not sure when it happened in the show, but the creepy cohort that Congressman Wheeler has been working with is a bartender at the bar. He's serving drinks, and you know he's up to no good. Something is gonna go down. But again, it was like he was creeping in the background of like Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday show, but not really doing anything. Nikki and Victor are, you know, enjoying their reception, and otherwise everything is wonderful. Nick and Victoria gave a really funny toast. I think it was Nick. Well, no, it was Victoria was giving the toast, and she was really tailoring it toward Nikki, saying that today was about Nikki and that she is, you know, a survivor, and that it's, you know, you know, great that she's finally found this happiness with Victor, and, you know, just saying all these wonderful things about Nikki, and then Nick is chiming in the background saying, yeah, she'd need to be in order to deal with Victor. Yeah, you need that quality to deal with Dad. It was such a hilarious little exchange, because here Victoria is complimenting Nikki, and Nick is jabbing at Victor, and Victor seemed adorably irritated by it. He just kind of laughed it off and said, yeah, son, I get it. Yeah, I get it. You're trying to jab at me. Okay, we get the joke. It was really, really funny and cute and special. There was a special moment also when they cut the cake. Beautiful cake, gorgeous cake. I'm sure every man dreams of having a white wedding cake with pink flowers all over it. It was very feminine, but lovely, absolutely lovely. And Nikki was afraid that she wasn't going to be able to cut the cake because she's had all of that trouble with her hands and her kind of muscle coordination, I believe. But, you know, and she sort of keeps wanting to, she wants to bow out of things like that, and Victor kind of forces her to do it. He, you know, I mean, they offered to let somebody else cut the cake, and Victor said, no, this is reserved for me and my bride, and he just put his hands on hers, and they cut the cake together, and it was just really wonderful to see that Nikki was able to overcome this, and just adorable. Like, I appreciated that Victor was there for her, with her, and they were just dancing into the night, just dancing with each other, looking into each other's eyes. So romantic. In fact, Nikki and Victor were dancing away when Alex and Noah had an argument. Oh my gosh, so rude that they would even start arguing at Nikki and Victor's wedding. Like, Noah had gotten down on Summer, rightfully so, for texting during the wedding. He said, put your phone away, that's disrespectful to Grandma and Grandpa. Then, a couple seconds later, he's in the corner on his phone, texting with Adriana, when Alex comes up behind him and says, oh, what are you texting with Adriana? And, you know, Noah's like, yeah, she's trying to make up with you and you're not accepting it, and Alex is not, you know, he's saying he's not buying it. And again, Adriana said some really suggestively bad things about Alex that seem to have been swept under the rug by Y&R a little bit. I don't know if they're just choosing. It makes me feel like Y&R didn't know that Alex and Adriana were going to be brother and sister when they brought them both onto the show, because there was an implication, I'm sorry, that Alex had done something like forced Adriana or suggested that Adriana have sex with one of his friends, which doesn't even sound like the Alex that we've been given. So I don't know, but Noah is still really, really hostile toward Alex. Alex thinks that Noah is just getting chumped by Adriana. So they had this fight, which, again, so rude. It had to get broken up. They were getting loud, but Nikki and Victor were not even disturbed. They were just dancing into the night. I'm glad. If there had to be an argument, at least it seemed like Nikki and Victor weren't aware of it. So, let's see what else. Ashley showed up at the wedding, and I want to say she showed up during the reception part. I don't think she was at the wedding ceremony, but she saw the whole Alex and Noah fight, and she kind of jabbed at Abby a little bit, like, this is the guy that you're wanting to date, he's causing a fight at a wedding, he seems kind of inappropriate, but Abby defends him, you know, saying he's a man of the law and whatnot. So Ashley kind of accepted that, but it kind of got me thinking how awkward it must be for Ashley being at Nikki and Victor's wedding. I think Ashley probably would have stayed with Victor if she didn't know that Nikki was always going to be a factor. I mean, Ashley and Victor have a very long history as well, so I felt a little awkward for her being there, but, you know, she did good. There was the moment where Nikki was ready to throw the bouquet, and Ashley was like, oh no, thank you. But Eric ended up talking her into going and standing in line to catch the bouquet, and at the same time Nick was prodding Avery to go try to catch the bouquet. Gee, wonder who it was gonna be. So Nikki throws the flowers. It's like Summer and Ashley and Avery. Avery tried to duck to the back of the line, like she didn't want to catch the bouquet, and Nikki ended up throwing him right at her. It was obviously an awkward moment for Avery, but she caught him. She caught the bouquet. I don't know, do guys still throw a garter? Were there no single guys in the room? No, there had to be. There were single guys in the room. And yeah, Victor didn't throw a garter. Do dudes still do that? I have no idea, but oh well. Now is where it starts to get interesting, because Adam arrives and he just like floats into the room, just saunters his way on in, grabs a glass of champagne and offers a toast to Nikki and Victor. And there was a brief amount of time where his toast was totally complimentary. Like, it was saying about how Victor has taken a company and he's built it from the ground up, and you have all in one way or another benefited from that company, and you should be grateful to him. It was really geared toward Victor and kind of a respect for Victor, and it was crazy. I mean, I'm like, wow, this is really nice of him. But it slowly started spinning down into, I have an announcement to make about Victor's involvement. Let me take you back to New Year's Eve of 2013. And you could tell that Adam was getting ready to try to give away information about Victor before Victor gives information about him and their involvement in the whole Stephanie thing. And just as Adam started getting the words out, Billy, like, bums rushed him right out of the room. He was like, no, I don't think so. I don't even know why they let him in the first place. How did Adam even get in? I'm surprised they didn't have his picture out at the gate, the guard post, and refute, do not let this man enter the building. I don't know how he got there in the first place, but Billy takes Adam into the foyer, tells him, no, you're not going to spill all of this information. It only hurts my brother Jack, and I'm not going to let you do it. And then Victor comes in, and he kind of him and Adam have an altercation too, talking about, whether who's gonna blow the whistle on who, more anger between Victor and Adam. And as that's happening, Congressman Wheeler's goon guy, who's on the inside of this wedding, as a bartender, Abby tells him to go get some champagne, so he goes into what appears to be a storage room, and he plants a bomb on what appears to be a water heater. The water heater. I don't know, was he just expecting to get everybody wet or what? But he is planting a freaking bomb on the water heater, and he gets a call from Congressman Wheeler, who tells him to go ahead with the plan. You're watching the little bomb countdown thing happen. Do they still do that? If you were gonna plant a bomb, would you bother putting the timer on? Is that an essential element of a bomb these days, or was this a cartoon? To me, that was just okay, complete with countdown. So the bomb is in place. The guy does everything he needs to do, and he kind of rushes out of the room. A bomb's about to go off. So this guy brushes past Nick on his way out, and Nick stops and says, whoa, buddy, where are you going? What's the rush? And he tries to play it off like, oh, my shift's over, gotta go. But Nick looks him right in the eye. He has seen Wheeler cohorting with this guy, and Nick's starting to put it together in his head, and he's saying, I've seen you somewhere. Where do I know you from? You're not going anywhere until you tell me what you're doing here. The guy is ready to get the heck out of there before he blows up along with everybody else. So he pulls out a gun. I mean, who cares if he's got to shoot them all? They're all going to blow up in any minute anyway. So he's, flailing around with the gun. Nick and Billy kind of jump on him to get the gun away with him. They're wrestling from him. Just as all three of these guys are wrestling with the gun, Victor walks in, says something like, what the hell's going on here? And the guy gets back control of his gun. He points it at Victor, just as you see a shot of Adam realizing what's happening, realizing that the gun is pointed at his father, and Adam lunges forward to, jump in front of Victor, try to get Victor out of the way to save Victor's life. I knew it! The second that happened, I knew it. I mean, the second Adam arrived at the wedding, I thought, oh, here's the part where Adam saves Victor, because they've been building to this for quite a while. I remember at the time when Adam offered Victor the company, kind of at a sacrificial lamb sort of way, and Victor told him to screw off. There was little seeds being planted, I just could tell that there was something was going to happen where Adam was going to sacrifice himself or save Victor in some way, and I knew it, so I was so happy when it finally happened. Like, it's such a good storyline because Adam appears to hate Victor. They have this adversarial relationship going on, but at the end of the day, Adam loves Victor. Adam admires Victor, and he doesn't want him dead. I just think that Adam loves Victor way more than he's ever able to let on. He wants to do what's right. He wants to be the good son. He wants the recognition from Victor, and so he jumps in front of him or whatever. I mean, the previews for the next show, Alex is there. He's now a GCPD, and he's on the phone with Paul saying there's been a shooting at the ranch and there's one man down, and I'm assuming that man is not Victor. I imagine it's got to be Adam, because from the previews they also show, from the next show, Nick is at home with Avery talking to her about potentially getting married. Like, she's caught the bouquet and they're rushing into this relationship, but that's a whole nother story. But he's kind of trying to plant the seed about, well, maybe we should get married or something with her. So I'm assuming that if it was Victor that got shot, Nick wouldn't have just gone home with Avery and proposed to her. Adam had to be the one to get shot. But, you know, who cares about him? He's just the guy that saved your father's life. So we're gonna see next week how that all unfolds. The only one little left loose end here would be the fact that there's still a bomb. Let's talk about the new 40-year anniversary interviews that were at the front of all of this week's show. First of all, Nikki looked flawless in her interview. The chain earrings, the teased hair, the beautiful purple, flawless. I loved her. Plus, she dropped some Y&R trivia on me. I've only been watching for 20 years, and I am fairly aware of major storylines that happened prior to when I was watching, but I had no idea that Nikki was in a cult. I mean, just seeing her there in her long skirt, she seemed to fit the part, but I don't even know how that, I had no clue. I didn't know that she was in a cult at all. Everybody, I think, kind of knows, it's been brought up quite a bit in the past that she was a stripper, and that's when Victor met her. But Melody Thomas Scott mentioned that it was originally supposed to be mud wrestling. She was supposed to be a mud wrestler, which I did not know. So that was interesting to get that little bit of Y&R knowledge. I mean, they focused on a lot of things in Melody Thomas Scott's interview. Her relationship with Victor, of course. You know, she said they didn't really know that their relationship was going to become what it became. They're one of the most famous couples on Daytime. I mean, if you have ever watched Y&R at any point, you have been a front row witness to the Nikki and Victor show. There are people who can not watch the show for 5-10 years and come back and still wonder what's up with Nikki and Victor. If you know nothing else about Y&R, you know the story of Nikki and Victor. So this was a really good time to talk about that past, and I think to capitalize and like market it in a way too, to kind of get new viewers. But it was really nice to see those flashbacks. I always love seeing the scene of Nikki being the stripper and Victor like watching her on stage. Love the way Victor made himself look like he was the butler at the ranch, and he was in fact the billionaire. So loved the flashbacks of Nikki and Victor. There was some focus on Nikki's relationship with Catherine. It was funny because Melody Thomas Scott mentioned Nikki doesn't really have girlfriends. The only girlfriend that she really has is Catherine. And they showed some flashbacks of them, but I would have loved to have seen more of that. Because Catherine is Nikki's only friend, I think they should have focused on that a little bit more. And that fact is what makes Kay's absence at the wedding so much more heartbreaking. I really feel like she should have been there. It was funny that they also touched a little bit on Nikki's relationship with Sharon, or her feud with Sharon, because they have had some feuds. And from what I understand, Melody Thomas Scott and Sharon Case are friends, pretty good friends in real life, so that's probably why it makes it so much more fun to do cat fight scenes together. They actually showed a flashback to one of the times when, I mean, Nikki never accepted Sharon, ever. She never wanted Sharon to marry Nick, and they flashed back to one of the times where it seemed like Nick had probably been broken up with Sharon for a while, and he came back to her, and Sharon was flaunting to Nikki that I think Sharon and Nick had sex or something, and Nikki just straight up smacked her across the face. It was beautiful. Sharon looked beautiful, by the way. I loved her look in that scene. It was like farm girl chic. She was so young and fresh and adorable. I loved that scene. Nikki has not had a lot of other really deep relationships aside from Jack, and they did focus on Nikki and Jack's marriage a little bit, you know, the fact that they had lost a child together, and the fact that Jack was really the first person who had been exposed to Nikki's drinking problems, so they focused in on that a little bit. The thing that really surprised me the most was that there didn't seem to be much mention, and they did mention it, but not that much, about Nick and Victoria, about her relationship with her children. But then again, time was so limited. A profile of Nikki's character could go on for days. I'm sure it was difficult to just keep it only to a few minutes. Victor Newman was brought onto the show in 1980. They mentioned in his character profile, and 1980 was the year that I was born. So Victor Newman and Allie were kind of born in the same year in a way, and I've always felt connected to Victor's character. He has been almost like this weird, he kind of has a fatherly sort of like place in my mind, but at the same time, there are a lot of characteristics of myself that I kind of identify with in Victor. Of all of the characters on the show, I feel like I understand Victor the most. Like, I'm the Victor of my world, you know what I'm saying? He's the Victor of Genoa City, I'm the Victor of my world, and so I have always connected with him. I've always felt a very special connection with Victor, and I think that a lot of that is the reason why he's been on the show for such a long time. I'm sure that I can't be alone in that. I think a lot of people who have only started watching the show, you know, within maybe the last 5 years or so, really haven't seen a lot of Victor's wonderful qualities. It seems like those have been downplayed quite a lot. He really has a tragic story of his beginnings. He's absolutely risen above all of that. He is a creator, you know, he is a provider, and he has an infinite capacity for love given the fact that he was never given love as a child. And so I think within the last couple of years, a lot of those qualities have fallen away, and a lot of the reason why I'm able to forgive Victor as of late is because I know him from way back. You know, I feel like I've connected with those good qualities, and it sort of overshadows the bad ones. But of course, if you talk about the story of Victor Newman, you have to talk about his childhood. He was an orphan, as we all know, and his mother couldn't afford to keep him. His father abandoned them, and it became the absolute foundation for who he is. In so many ways, Victor is trying to prove himself. He's always been trying to prove himself, and to his father in some ways. They showed a memory, I remember when this happened, of when Victor kind of had a fantasy of him meeting his real father, and it was, you know, Eric Braeden was playing the role of Victor's father, and that Victor's father said to him, "I'm proud of you," or something to the like, you know, like acknowledging that I didn't have anything to do with the way that you were raised, but I am proud of you, son. And when Victor actually met his father, it was nothing like that. It was a horrible, horrible relationship. But does that sound a little familiar? I mean, Adam kind of embodies those characteristics as well. And I think Adam's looking for that validation from his father as well. You know, Victor didn't have anything to do with the way Adam was raised, but Adam has risen above his upgrowing. He was just on a farm. There wasn't a lot of, of business skills, I think, that he had picked up around there, but he tried to rise above what his upbringing was. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, and like there's anything wrong with being raised on a farm, but I think Adam tried to stretch himself beyond that world and become a smart and intelligent businessman who he wants his father to acknowledge. And so there's that vulnerability thread. Victor has it, Adam has it, and I connect with it. I get it. And it was really, of course, wonderful to see, again, the flashbacks from Victor's perspective, his relationship with Nikki, which was obviously the deepest cut, but they focused a little bit on his relationship with Ashley, how, he could have had a great relationship with her, but he was still in love with Nikki. The first cut was too deep, and he was never really able to move on, and it was a good tie-in considering the fact that Eileen Davidson was back on the show this week, so that was nice. And, of course, they talked about Victor's relationship with Hope, who is my favorite non-Nikki relationship for Victor, because that's when I started watching the show, was right as Victor was meeting Hope, and what just a wonderful love story they had. And I think part of my forgiveness of Victor probably has to do with the fact that he was so kind toward her. Hope didn't want anything from him. I mean, his relationship with Hope was simple, and it was untainted, and he was so kind to her as she was vulnerable. It was almost as if their vulnerabilities, kind of were the same in that moment. I always loved that relationship, and I think maybe that might also be a reason why I feel connected to the character of Adam. So they did talk a little bit in the interview about Victor's relationship with his children, and I thought it was interesting that Eric Braeden had mentioned that he really doesn't like when Victor has to play cold with his children. And they showed as an example the scene where there was the lawsuit over Newman Enterprises, and Victor was very cold in that scene. And it's odd that Eric Braeden hates doing that, because it seems to happen so often, doesn't it? It seems like Victor's always being cold with his children as of late. So, I don't know, I wish Eric Braeden could help get some stuff done around there and make that stop. And I want to love Victor as much as I did when I first started watching the show. And they did a character profile, in the character profile with Victor, they talked about his friendship with Catherine, which made me think, where the heck is the character profile of Catherine? That better be coming on Monday. I want to see that. And it was wonderful. So much more could have been said, again, that could have possibly fit into a couple of minutes. Victor's character is so deep, and there's so much that he's been through. And I feel like Eric Braeden said it best. Sometimes it feels like it's been forever that I've been on the show, and then there are some times where it feels like it was just yesterday. And I connect with that because that's how I feel about watching the show. That's how I feel about life. Sometimes it just seems like it's, it's yesterday, and sometimes it seems like so far away, but it's just been a wonderful journey with Y&R, and I think that these character profiles at the beginning of the shows have really made a difference. It's really just kicked into gear my memories of the show and what my personal connection to the show is, and it's given me, I think, kind of a renewed appreciation and interest for some of the classic characters. Watching Lauren and Michael at Victor and Nikki's wedding was painful. Ugh. Usually, anytime there's an event, Lauren is like a booblicious bombshell. But this time, she was wearing a high-cut dress. There was no boobs. She didn't even bring the girls out for this affair. She was saving them for her own affair. I'm surprised Carmine wasn't a bartender at the event. If there wasn't a larger storyline plan for the killer wedding, then he would have been, trust me. So after the wedding, it was completely awkward the entire time, they both go home, and God forbid that Michael try to touch her or talk to her. Lauren cannot bear to have Michael anywhere near her. She like cringes at the thought of him touching her. And poor Michael, he tried to take inspiration from Nikki and Victor's wedding and say, you know, they've been through a lot, but they're still together. But Lauren was not budging. She is being so stubborn and so cold toward him. And for me, who has been a Michael and Lauren fan since they were dating, every moment of coldness from her is like a million years. I feel it so deeply, and I'm so tired of it. She is being impossible to talk to. She always runs away. Anytime things get tense between she and Michael, she just walks out. And that's exactly what happened this week. Things started getting tense. She opened up the door and ran away again. He's like calling from her as she's out in the hall running away. If she walks out the door one more time, I swear I'm going to die. I am over it. It hurts so much to see it happening. She leaves him. She goes to the coffee house, and guess who's there? Carmine is like a roach. He's infested Genoa City. Not only now is he at the athletic club, but he's at the coffee house too. And he's probably was sitting there just waiting, hoping that she would show up. He sits her down to talk to her, wants her to talk out her problems, and to play cards and show her his magic trick where he's always guessing her card and she's always holding the Queen of Hearts. Like, sorry, for crying out loud, I could have guessed what card she was holding at this point. Every single time they play this little game, she's holding the Queen of Hearts. He sends her a text message, it's the Queen of Hearts. Give me a break, of course she was holding the Queen of Hearts. And get this, Carmine says that he won a raffle at work, and that included a free suite with a free bottle of champagne. Give me a break. Is that the lamest come on you ever heard? I don't believe that he won a raffle, not for a second. I think he didn't even have the thing planned. I think he probably said he won the room and then ran out in the back and booked the room. I don't believe him at all. He tells her that she should meet him there. He gives her the key, and Lauren is like a moth to a flame at this point. She cannot even be in her right mind. It's like she's walking around in this sex haze, and she's not thinking straight. He goes to the room, waiting for her, knowing she's going to show up, and she does. She comes around the corner, puts the key into the card key into the door, and then starts to thinks twice, and then turns around and tries to walk away, just as he's opening the door like, hey, you got a problem with the key? Come on in. And she says, lamest excuse ever, tells him, I was just coming by to return the key, please. Lame. She says no, and she shows up, just like a moth to a flame. And he just lures her in, and he knows that she's in a vulnerable place, and he's trying to make her feel all good. He brings her in, and he's like showing her how she looks in the mirror. Like, he's standing behind her, and they're looking into the mirror together, and he's giving her a freaking pep talk. Like, she needs to know from Carmine the bartender that she's a worthy human being, or that she's beautiful. Give me a break! I'm so irritated. And it's all just foreplay. They're pretending like they're not wanting to do it, but they're just wanting to do it. And I'm not even into it anymore. There was a brief moment where it was hot and intriguing, and now it's just a dirty affair. And I'm losing respect for Lauren fast. Like, you know what? If you want to be with Carmine, Lauren, then go be with Carmine. But don't lead Michael on. He's sitting at home wondering if he can fix his marriage, and she's not even trying. Michael deserves better than this, and at this point, I want him to find out. After all is said and done, and Lauren and Carmine have their sex, she gets up, goes to the mirror, looks at herself, and realizes that this jerkwad just gave her a hickey. How classless is that? He knows she's married. He knows she's going to have to go home and that she's going to have to deal with that, and he did it anyway. You know when you're giving somebody a hickey. And if you're having an affair, you should be a little more careful. And so now Lauren's walking around with this huge hickey on her neck. I haven't had a hickey since high school. Lauren Fenmore is now this grown woman, successful businesswoman, walking around town like she was just necking at Genoa City's makeout point. Neil was at Nikki and Victor's wedding. He was kind of in the background. He wasn't real prominent, but he was there. He had a brief exchange with Eric Forrester talking about fashion, and now they're going to be in a business that's similar to one another, so they were chatting back and forth. Now, as soon as Neil could get out of there, he did. He went to go be with Leslie. That's where his mind and his heart are. And Leslie's mind and heart are kind of with Tyler at this point, because last week she went to go see their father, and she had a realization that she believes he did not kill their mother. And now she has talked Tyler into going to visit him as well. So Tyler very reluctantly goes to visit the father, and it just does not go as planned. Tyler is very, very bitter, and he's looking at this man in the eyes, and all he can see is the person who killed his mother. So Tyler did not come to the same conclusion that Leslie did, and he's very, very torn up about it. And it may just be the fact that he doesn't want to believe it. I mean, if you've built your life around a certain assumption, it's not something that can just really change on a dime. And Leslie's been slowly moving toward that, but I think it's a little bit more of a shock to Tyler's system. Now, someone did mention to me last week a theory that I really, really love. I mean, I know it's probably not possible. I imagine when this all shakes out that Congressman Wheeler will have been responsible for Leslie and Tyler's mother's death. It's already been revealed that they were having the affair, but wouldn't it be kind of interesting if it turned out that Tyler did it? Kane got his character profile this week, and Kane's someone who doesn't have a long history with the show. I'm a little surprised that his came before Josh Morrow or Amelia Heinel, Nikki and Victoria, but Kane has had an interesting ride with the show, and he came onto the show probably as just someone who was not even going to be around very long, and he's really developed himself into a really nice, a really important part of the cast. So Y&R focused a lot on who Kane was when he first came into town, and of course his love story with Lily, and the revelation of the fact that he wasn't really Philip, and how that caused all kinds of problems between he and Lily, and he and Neil. And it was funny to hear Michael Goddard talk about his marriages, that he's been married, I think, 3 times on the show. The first one he wasn't really there for. I seem to remember that Amber married him over the phone or so. There was some kind of weird, crazy circumstance. Amber had gotten him drunk and somehow married him. Funny though to see those flashback scenes of, Kane first coming onto the scene, and his relationship with Amber was the first thing we saw him doing. And Michael Goddard had mentioned that Kane and Amber had sex in every room of the Chancellor Mansion at one point. And I can't remember exactly why she was kind of duping him, but I think maybe she just wanted to be married to... I think Amber knew that there was the possibility that he was Philip, and she wanted to just be married to him so that she could kind of get into the house. But they also talked about Kane's relationship with Jill. I really liked it when Kane was Jill's son. And they talked about the rivalry between Kane and Billy when they both thought that they were brothers, and the boxing shoot that they did together. So it was interesting to get a little bit of a flashback about Kane's character. He'd been married to Amber the one time, and then had been married to Lily the second time at just kind of a church wedding, and then they had that huge outdoor wedding just a couple of years ago. So So it was nice to kind of get that trip down memory lane. Kane is just so damn cute. He really is. He talked about like getting killed off of the show and coming back, and yeah, I mean, I think people were so upset that he got killed that he kind of got brought back with the Caleb storyline. I mean, he's got a pull, and I love him. I hope that we get to see more of him. I hope we get to see more of these character profiles next week, because there's still so many that need to happen. But anyway, Kane's character profile was kind of tied in with a really lovely little family scene between he and Lily and the two kids. They're doing painting, like finger painting, and just being real cute. There was a point where Lily came around and dumped glitter all over Kane's head, and it was just nice to see a happy family, especially when so many of the families in Genoa City are not happy. So it was all glitter and paint and love and hearts and rainbows until Tyler called. He had just gotten back from going to see his father, and he calls Lily at night, and she goes to the office to go over this new campaign that he's working on. She walks into the office. Tyler's sitting there in the dark. He's upset. And she comforts him, you know, she knows something's wrong. He doesn't want to talk about it. He finally opened up a little bit, and she's just, I think human to human, wanted to kind of give him a hug. But, like, Kane stopped working with Chelsea, and I thought that Lily wasn't going to be working with Tyler anymore. Seeing Ashley this week was refreshing. I love her in her beautiful blue halter dress in March. We're supposed to get 4 to 6 inches of snow here tomorrow, and the people on screen, like, we're all wearing halter dresses and no sleeves. I'm like, God, you guys, they must have like amazing heat there in those buildings in Genoa City. The ladies are all wearing not a whole lot of clothes. But anyway, I loved seeing Ashley. Before going to the wedding, Ashley went to see Jack, of course, and they had a nice interaction where Jack apologized to Ashley, you know, for firing her and totally like destroying their family. But the more interesting thing was the confrontation between Ashley and Phyllis, and I'm really glad that Y&R took the time to make that happen, because Ashley got up on Phyllis, telling her she really shouldn't be dating Jack. Jack is in a very vulnerable place right now, and Ashley just nailed it. She said right off the bat, you're using him. And what happens when you're done using him? Well, Jack's gonna fall down again, and that's not what I want, that's not what you want, and damn it if I don't think she's right. I hate to say it, because I really want to be a Phyllis and Jack fan, and I want to believe that they're together for the right reasons, but there's just this larger part of me that realizes, yeah, I do think Phyllis is using him. Damn it. I wish that wasn't the case. But Ashley moseys on off to the wedding, but it leaves Phyllis really questioning her own motives. And Jack, of course, comes back and tries to do some damage control, like, no, it's just my sister, she's being protective. And he's able to talk Phyllis back into going on that vacation. They're going to Istanbul together, and which I hope we get to see. But Jack tries to tell her, let's just take it slow, we don't need to back off, but we don't have to put it into, you know, a speed racer mode either. So they're taking it one step at a time for now. Very interesting how this little scene at the Jabot office took a turn, because Kyle shows up to talk with Phyllis, and he told her that he was the one that came up with the Istanbul vacation idea. Why did he have to do that? Why did Kyle have to go and tell Phyllis that it was all his idea? Let Jack have that one, Kyle, can ya? I mean, the Kyle-Phyllis crushed sort of, the flame flickered down a little bit, but there was, it got up again a little bit this week, because Phyllis warned Kyle to kind of stay away from Summer. Phyllis, they're talking, and Phyllis says, yeah, obviously my daughter has a crush on you, and I would appreciate if you just don't fan the flame, you know, let it flicker out the way it probably will. And Kyle said something like, it's okay, she's not my type. And Phyllis, I think, said something like, oh, you like older women? And there was this moment where it was re-acknowledged that Kyle had that crush on her. It was just really funny. So Summer, after going to Nikki and Victor's wedding, goes back to the office and comes up with this little plan to get Kyle. This girl's got a one-track mind, exactly like her mother. She goes into Jack's office and she texts Kyle and says, hey, you want to come into Jack's office and have a coffee break with me? So as Kyle's on his way into the office, Summer takes a cup of coffee, dumps it all down the front of her, and is so obviously just like waiting for Kyle to come in and see it. She wants to create a situation where her breasts are available to him. So she takes, like, she's peeking out the door the whole time this is happening, like, oh, is he coming, is he coming? I want to create this perfect moment. And she unbuttons her shirt, takes it off, she's standing there in her bra, and Kyle walks in. Exactly on cue. He sees her and he's like, whoa, why are you standing in my dad's office in your bra? And Summer gives her a lame excuse. Oh, I spilled coffee on it. It's okay. He gives her his jacket to cover up, and she doesn't even cover up. She just puts on his jacket, so now she's wearing, like, bra and jacket, but the boobs are still there. And Kyle's clearly embarrassed by this whole thing, but, you know, I mean, they're boobs. He's still a guy, and boobs are boobs. But Summer's playing it up like, oh, what, did my chest get burned? It was really fun. I loved it. But the moment that kicked the whole thing off was the fact that Phyllis walks back in, and her reaction was priceless. She sees Summer standing there, half naked, Kyle like looking at her, and Phyllis just opens her eyes and says, what the hell? I laughed so hard. That was really good. That was a good lighthearted moment. Now, dang it, you guys. I have learned that, can you believe this? Kyle is being recast. Can you even believe that crap? Like, Y&R always does this to me right when I'm adjusting to a character. I didn't like Kyle at first, but that was mostly because of the age gap. I loved the little guy that played Kyle. He was just adorable. And then they aged him like really, really rapidly. I mean, he went from being 12, 13 to being 25 or whatever he is. It was just too quick. But I always said that the actor, Blake Hood, seemed like Jack's son. He has that slick, I'm Jack Abbott's son vibe about him. I totally can buy it. And I had been really warming up to him quite a bit. Even over the last couple of weeks, since the summer thing started, I was starting to warm up to Blake Hood, and now he's gone. They already recast him. I just have a feeling like maybe they were looking, maybe Y&R was looking for someone a little more suitable to pair with Summer so that they can maybe get this Summer's paternity / incestual relationship with Kyle storyline rolling. Well, let's finish up today by just talking a little bit about the fashion at the big event this week. I really want to know who you guys thought the best and worst dressed were. There was a lot of kind of mediocre for me. There wasn't anybody that really super stood out. I have to say I really loved Summer's dress. I thought she looked nice and kind of this floral, pinkish, sort of like 1950s, looked like maybe it had a petticoat, is petticoat the right word? Thing underneath it. I don't know, it's like fluffed out at the bottom. She looked really cute. I thought Avery looked nice in her fuchsia dress with lots of lacy, flowery detail on top, but it almost wasn't even that stellar. Avery usually is like, bam, looks amazing, and it wasn't really there for me this time as much as before, but I did like the dress. Lauren, kind of disappointing. Usually she brings it to the ball, and she did not this time, so that was a little bit sad. I I did kind of like Abby's dress. She had like some smoky, chunky stones all over her stone-colored satin dress. It was interesting. It had definitely some texture. So those, I mean, you know, obviously Nikki looked great. Victoria, her bridesmaid dress just didn't do it for me. It was like a seafoam green, or I think, or maybe a sage green, kind of peasant girl, kind of, I don't know, it was high, cut, you know, kind of like cinched sort of just below the bust and then long and flowy. It just wasn't, it was kind of boring to me. And like all of the guys are always boring. Men's fashion is not easy to accomplish. Mostly I was just looking at Alex's beard being like, that was the shocking moment. It was Alex not having the beard anymore. But I mean, for the most part, like guys are kind of just boring. The only guy that really stuck out fashion-wise for me this week was Tyler. I loved that vest he had on. It was just a cool vest, and it had the red satin or silk backing to it, and it just looked really, really sharp on him. But for the most part, all the guys kind of, like, why is guys' fashion so boring? Can't they do something to spice up a tuxedo? I don't know. You guys will have to let me know who you think were the best and worst dressed. I'll be excited to read that. This is not fashion, but it is style related. I love the redecoration of Billy and Victoria's house, and I was not expecting to. If you listened to my vlog a couple weeks ago, I was really, really down on it because I love the classic look that their house had. It was supposed to be a Father's Knows Best, you know, kickback home, and I was actually kind of bitter that they were going to be remodeling it, and then as soon as I saw it, I was like, wow. I mean, if it was bad, I would have jumped all over it because I was expecting it to be bad, but it is fresh. It is turquoise. It is dark wood bookshelves and fireplace with bright white lighted windows with white blinds. I just thought it was fresh and gorgeous. I love it. Okay, you guys, that is about it for me for this week, but I am still looking forward to next week. It is a huge cliffhanger. I just want to sink my teeth into the show. And I'm looking forward to coming back and talking to you guys about it again next week. But feel free to leave me a comment on what you think about this week's show, because a lot happened and I know you got opinions. I might not look at comments until next week because I don't want to be spoiled, but that shouldn't stop you from leaving them because I'll read them eventually. So go ahead, use that text box beneath this video. Leave me a comment, let me know everything that you guys are thinking about the show, and I'll be back next week again to chat about it. So everybody have a good one. Love ya. Mwah. Bye.